hi everyone. So what we're gonna have for today is how to model the Jewel Changi Airport very quickly. So this is an image of the Jewel Changi Airport, and let me just draw the constituent parts of the geometry that we will set up. So you can see here in the oculus there is a circle, and then there is also a curve that determines the shape, and we will need to also establish the axis of this geometry called rail revolution. So if we go to Rhino, Grasshopper, double click on the canvas and type rail revolution. So this is what we have. If you don't see all these exact names, you can go to display, click on full names. So this is much more intuitive for you to understand what you need. So let's set up how we will draw our portions here, the curve, rail and axis from this particular sketch. So you can go to here, top view. Make sure that you are in the correct units. So this is now in millimeters. I'm going to put the tolerance to 1. Okay. So now say for example, I'll just draw a very small version of the Jewel Airport. So let's say for example now I've used this tool to create a circle, and the diameter here, let's maybe set it up as 10 meters, which is 10,000 mm. Okay, so this is the circle. Then the next thing that we need is the rail, right? So to draw the rail, first go to this command here, control point curve, and you should try to make sure that it will be able to snap to the center. So go to the edge of the curve, and then when this comes up, just click over here. Now toggle to, say for example, the front view, zoom out with your middle mouse button, and now we can determine the dimensions. So maybe let me set it as 5,000. So this is the first point. Let me zoom out a bit more, and maybe here I will just put another 10,000, and then say another 10,000 again. Click to complete the placement of the 10,000 point. So 10,000 again, then maybe another 10,000, enter, left click, and then now I will move it, say 30,000 down, left. Okay, that's too much, maybe 15,000. And make sure that it's going down, then just left click and enter again to complete the command. So now I'm gonna select this. I shall try to move them down just to make it smoother. Okay, so if you're happy with this, now let's create the axis. So the axis, click on the end point here and just make it go up. Okay, so this one we don't have to be precise because this is just showing the axis. So now that we have this, we just go back to Grasshopper, double click on the canvas, type curve, CRV, and we're going to duplicate it 3 times because we're going to have a curve each for each of these input parameters. So this is my rail, then I right click, set one curve. This is my curve profile, and then finally this will be my axis. And yep, so let's just zoom out. So you can see here that this is a little bit fuzzy, right? Because you can see that the dip here is a little bit small. So to fix this, we just select the whole curve, move, and move it to the edge. Then you can see that it works. Okay, if just now you didn't have the control points on, you can always press on F10 to toggle the control points. So now you can just also adjust to get the shape that you want. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we will take this and create the die grid. Let me just draw. So you can see from here, if I were to extricate this out, what is happening here is there is a square, so to say, and then a diagonal portion here. So we're going to introduce some tools that you can see from Grasshopper that allows you to establish points here. And then what we will do is we will draw a line and a line and a line here between these points. Okay, so how we're gonna do that? We can use what we have learned in the earlier tutorial. You can go and watch it, the Boxmorph tutorial. So now what we will have is we will use the divide domain tool as well as the isotrim commands. So connect this over here, this over here, and this over here. Okay, so now let's set up the U and V counts. So maybe say for example from 10 to 25, and I can adjust this. So maybe something like 25. Okay, and I'll just duplicate this and place this here, and maybe this one I will reduce back to 10. Okay, so this looks okay for now. So what we want to do is to be able to establish this quads with the points. So to do that, we will need to use this X. Deconstruct brep command over here. Just type brep, then connect this over here. So what this does is it gives you the faces, the edges, and the vertices. Okay, so let's use this as an opportunity to identify which are the points, because this will be useful for you in future when you want to customize how each of your component will work. So I'm going to use this list item command that you can just get from double clicking and typing list item, and I want to focus on just one item, the very first item, which is this guy. So I'm gonna select the rest, which is this isostream, as well as this real revolution, by holding onto shift and middle mouse button and hiding them. So what this does is that it will take whichever item it is and only display that item. So I can just create like a slider, say from this 0 to 50, and I'll plug this in. So if I scrub through the slider, it's going along how it's constructing the original surface that we have. Okay, so you can see that Grasshopper understands it in this kind of motion. Okay, so this is just to illustrate. So let's just focus on this particular panel that we have. So we have our vertices here. So I'm going to use the same command called list item to now isolate each and every one of these points. So immediately after I've done this, you can see that this is like 0.0. Okay, if I hover over this, this is 0.0. I'm just going to create a slider now from 0 to 3, because I know that Grasshopper always counts from 0. So this is in fact the first point that we have isolated. And I'm going to select this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Move this up, and you can see this is 0.1 now. Let me just do it a few more times. Two, three. So you can see this 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, and then 0.3. So if I were to go back to this particular sketch, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. This order will not be the same for all geometries that you make. It depends on how you have modeled your geometry. Okay, but the concept here is that what we want you to do is we want to be able to create this line from 0.0 to 2, and then from 0.1 to 2, from 0.0 to 1. Okay, so now let's just use the line tool. So choose the second last one where you will see the start and the end point. So let's just try. It's from 0.0 to 0.2. See, it immediately draws this line. So what else do we need? From 0.0 to 1, and then from 0.1 to 2. So I'm gonna take this, I Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So 0.0 to 0.1, I'll just replace the endpoint with this. So you can see this is my point over here. I can also just hide these two things so it's easier for you to visualize. Okay, so now we only see these 4 points. This is 0.0 to 2, 0.0 to 1. So the last one is from 0.1 to 2. See, 0.1 to 2. So I'm just going to take this one, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and I'll just replace the inputs 0.1 to 2. So we have this to all of this. So now that I have this, I don't even need this points. I'll just select them, middle mouse, hide them. So it's neat. I have all these lines now. So what I just need to do is to make them 3-dimensional. So double click and type pipe. So it needs the curves. To have multiple inputs, just hold on to shift and drag and connect them. So default number is 1. So for this to look good, maybe let's start with a 50 mm to say 250 mm. Okay, let me just bump it up a bit. Okay, 100. Okay, so you are generally happy with this. So what's happening is that you are doing it to the first panel. Okay, but if I were to change this now and flip it over here, you can see that now I'm using the same algorithm but generating it to all the other panels. Okay, and so this is how you have very quickly created the jewel structure. This is all parametric in the sense that you can control the thickness of the members, right? Put it back. You can also adjust, say for example, how defined this is. So maybe I'll just edit the slider, bump it up to 50. I hope my laptop can take this, so I can just change this to say 35 now. So now it's more defined, maybe even up to 50. Yes, so this is looking more and more like what we have in the jewel. You can also go back to your constituent parts from Rhino to smoothen up the geometry. So I can select this, select the curve first and press F10 or type points on. So with the points on, you can adjust, select the points and adjust the geometry like what I've done. You can bump it up here. Okay, to make it look more stadium-like. Okay. Yes, so now let's just save this document. Let's just call this the jewel GH. I'm also gonna save my Rhino file. Jewel RH. Create a new layer here. Let's just call this bake, and you can bake your geometries. So my structure looks a bit too fine. Let me just bump it up, double the radius. Okay, so this is 200 now. Okay, right click, bake, select the bake layer, group them, click OK, and that's it. So to switch off the grasshopper geometry, just click on this particular button. So you're hiding that. Go to perspective, switch it to rendered, and yep, so you can see that you have baked your geometry now into Rhino. So with this tool, you can do your renders. You can even create diagrams out of this. So say for example, I want to do like a axonometric of this. Okay, so maybe axonometric, you go to set view, isometric, like, okay, this view. Okay, so I'm just going to select all my geometry and then type make 2D. You can use the same portions, just click OK. And what it will do, it will make a two-dimensional drawing and put it on the origin in the plan view. And then you can use this and adjust this within Rhino itself, or you can also export it to another software such as AutoCAD or Illustrator. So there's quite a few geometries here, so we have to wait for it. Okay, now it's done. So let's just double click and go back to the top view. So make sure you don't click anywhere on the canvas first, because it's still auto selecting whatever that you have drawn. So after you go back to the top view, you can move it over here, so it's away from your original 3D geometry. And yep, so now this is all good. This is your little diagram that you can use to fix and for your 3D representation or drawings. Okay, so that's it. That's all that we have for you today. See you around.